Welcome and thank you for joining us today to learn more about the Planning for the Next Normal at School playbook. Today, we're going to walk through a couple of plays and resources from the Staff and Teacher Wellbeing chapter. We've recently revised the Planning for the Next Normal at School playbook and want to focus in on a couple of key actionable strategies to support staff and teacher wellbeing. I'm Flora Daniel, manager at Kaiser Permanente, and today I'll be joined with Mary Mancuso, a co-author of the Staff and Teacher Wellbeing chapter. Hello, Mary. How are you?
Hi, Flora. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. If you don't mind, if you could kind of start off by giving us a little bit of background about yourself and the chapter.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm a national program lead with Thriving Schools at Kaiser Permanente, and I have a background in public health with a focus in community health education. And I'm also a former public school teacher. So this chapter is very near and dear to my heart for many reasons. Also because prior to this role, I worked on employer well-being internally with our Kaiser Permanente employees, as well as externally with all kinds of businesses, organizations, municipalities, and schools and districts in thinking about how they support their employees. So this chapter is all of the things in my professional experience that I find so important. And I had the pleasure of co-authoring this chapter with Elizabeth Cook at Alliance for a Healthier Generation.
Awesome. Thanks, Mary, for that background, and glad to hear that this topic is very near and dear to your heart. Now, before we dive into a few specific plays, I want to give a brief overview of the checklist for this chapter, which includes some tips on how to utilize and lay the groundwork for well-being strategies that prioritize the health of staff and teachers. Now, our first play is to promote equity and collaboration with staff, teachers, and local bargaining units. Prepare staff and provide them with opportunities for job specific changes based on what has been learned since the onset of COVID-19. Foster collective resilience and well being within the entire school community. Empower personal well being by encouraging staff and teachers to prioritize their individual health. And lastly, provide resources to staff and teachers to help cope with effects of COVID-19. Now, here's a glimpse of what the full playbook chapter checklist will look like. And I'd like to kind of hear from you, Mary. Why is it important to consider teacher and staff well-being as we plan to return to school, and how does the checklist help us do that?
Thanks, Flora. Staff and teachers play such a critical role in the lives of our nation's youth. If we want school and district staff to do their best work, it's important that they support their own health and well-being, and in a way that honors their unique identities, promotes diversity of thought, and encourages collaboration. We often focus on the students, which totally makes sense, but if the adults, and I mean all adults in the buildings and on the campuses, aren't able to be their best selves, then we can't expect them to help the students. Educators have always been expected to do more than is, I don't know, humanly possible. And I think this past year and a half has just really made that all the more visible to everyone, really, educators and non-educators, and parents have had a front row seat and seeing everything that our educators do. So this chapter is so important as we think about how we can put a spotlight on teacher and staff well-being, and really thinking about how they can support themselves and how we can support them to do their best work. And this checklist really outlines some of the ways that you can do that, with some very tactical actions that you can take as a school or district leader or as an educator in any part of the building or the campus that you can do to support staff and teacher well-being.
Great, thank you, Mary. And knowing the significant importance in supporting staff and teachers, and their journey to be well and healthy, as well as the part that everyone's playing in supporting their well-being. What is the first play and resource that you would highlight from this chapter?
So the first play I want to highlight is the Empowering Personal Well-Being. This play really encourages staff and teachers to prioritize their individual health and well-being. We know that this term self-care can just feel like one more thing we're asking educators to do, but really it's not intended to be a task. It's an offer and an opportunity to really think about, what can I do for myself first so that I am in the best, so I am my best self to help my students. So It's a little bit cliche, but that airplane metaphor of putting your mask on yourself before others really does apply here. And in the next play, I'm going to talk again about that metaphor. So hold on to that thought. But in this play, we want to provide learning opportunities on burnout and stress reduction. Burnout is a real thing. It doesn't just mean you're not doing good at your job or you're not coping. It means your job is really hard and it's really hard to take care of yourself. And we want to provide the opportunities to learn about that and think about how you can reduce your stress. So 2 of the plays here that we'll highlight on that stress reduction link, it takes you to our webinar page. Last year, or excuse me, but in May, we had 2 webinars. So you may have already seen these webinars, but they're only 30 minutes long, and I've watched them several times and still learn things from them, and they link to many resources. So if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, you can even skip through it, or just look at the slide deck and click on the links that are useful to you. The first one is on modeling the path to self-regulation for students through me moments. This is an incredible new toolkit that teaches adults and young people how to co-create strategies for self-regulation. It is full of options and strategies for any type of learning environment, and it's such a great resource for educators and caregivers. And the second recording is about fostering individual and collective well-being through boundaries. This is such an important component of self-care. And this webinar and the links associated will give you tools and resources for exploring your own personal values and help you think about how you can set and communicate boundaries, which is such a critical component. It will help you effectively maintain them, especially in these challenging times.
Well, thanks, Mary, for highlighting that play and those resources. It sounds like there's really digging into those resources. There's something for everyone, depending on what they're looking to really hone in and focus on in supporting their well-being. So glad to hear that. And if you had to highlight a second play and resource from this chapter, which one would you select, and what are a few resources that you like to highlight?
Yeah, I want to talk about the play 3, the fostering collective resilience. Remember my airplane example where I said put your mask on first? Well, what if we fix the plane? Instead of making it the individual passenger's job to put on their mask, what if we made it so they didn't need the mask? That is what collective well-being and collective resilience is all about. So this play emphasizes the importance of prioritizing and promoting resilience and that collective well-being. So how can we support each other as a group within the entire school community? A couple examples are building in times during meetings for staff, parents, and teachers and caregivers to really reconnect. This is one of the major themes that we heard as schools are going back to in-person learning, as well as navigating this pandemic which we still are, and thinking about how can we connect with each other in some ways virtually, but especially in person as we're going back, some of us going back into the classroom for the first time in a while. Some of you have been back in the classroom, but still after summer break or whatever that may look like, just offering that time to connect. We also have our RISE Index and Action Center, which is where this link also directs you to those resources, which is an incredible assessment designed to help you think through what is your school or district doing well already for collective well-being and what can you improve. And which each of those assessment questions, it offers tools and resources to help you improve on those different categories. So you can go in at any time, you can save and come back to it. It is an incredible resource that I highly recommend any of you to go in there and check out and see what's available.
Great. Thanks, Mary. Sounds like the RISE Index and Action Center is a great place to get started and kind of dig in for this specific play. Now, as we wrap, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
I just want to commend and appreciate all of our educators, all of the teachers and staff who have really just done an incredible job all the time, and especially through these challenging times. And I just want to offer, I hope this checklist helps think about your own well-being and your collective well-being, and that you have a strong start and a healthy start to 2021 school year.
Well, thank you, Mary, for that message and for walking us through some of the plays and resources within the checklist. And thank you all for joining us for this conversation. To access the checklist and additional resources, visit the Thriving Schools website using the link on the screen. Again, thank you for joining us and take care.